Chapter 10 The Miracle. The next few days were hard on me. The dizziness became horrid and I started to feel sick. It got so bad that I had to rest in bed. Then came the false labor. The pains were so intense that I felt as if my whole body was in a vice. I couldn't get up out of bed without the pains making me feel like falling over. Link had to care for me. I ate all my meals in bed, and when it was time to bathe, Link had to help me into the tub to wash me. It was hard. I felt helpless, but Link had told me that he was glad to care for me. I was going to give birth to our baby any day now, and he did not want to see me or the baby get hurt. Then a few nights later, it happened. I woke up and rustled Link awake.
Link, honey, wake up! It's time!
I was going into labor.
Grumble, grumble.
Go back to sleep, Link said as he rolled over. Then I shook him awake again.
Link, wake up! I'm going into labor!
I cried as I shook him.
What? Oh my goddesses, it's time!
He jumped out of bed, grabbed his robe, and went to get Navi and Lily. As he opened the door, I heard him call for our fairies.
Lily! Navi, come quick!
Link cried. What's the matter? Navi asked.
Navi, you and Lily must go fly to the castle quickly. Fetch Princess Zelda and the healer. Jenna's going into labor. It's time. And please make haste,
Link cried in urgency. Lily, hurry, we must go, Navi screeched. Then Lily and Navi flew off to fetch Princess Zelda and the healer. I didn't have long. The baby was on its way. I felt the contractions become less spaced apart. I hoped that Lily and Navi would bring the healer here quickly. I tried to hold the baby, but as if you needed more proof that this woman had never been pregnant for real in her life. After my water broke.
I cannot hold the baby back any longer, Link. My water just broke. One way or another, this baby is coming,
I cried as my breath became labored. Just hang in there, my love. Lily and Navi will be back soon with Princess Zelda and the healer. Link was getting more concerned with each passing minute. Then a horse came plodding up the front of the house and I heard voices.
Oh, my goddesses, they're finally here,
I said in between gasps of breath. Link ran out the door to hurry them along. Then a minute later he came back with the healer followed by Princess Zelda.
Princess, go get some pillows and blankets and be quick about it.
After Princess Zelda came back with the pillows, she put a pillow under my head and the blankets under my body. Then Link came to my side and held my hand.
Hurry, the baby is coming,
I cried as the contractions became closer together. You must breathe slower. Take a deep breath. Now push, the healer yelled. I felt the baby trying to come out, but something was wrong. Push harder, she called again.
I'm pushing as hard as I can. Damn it! I screamed.
Princess, do you see the head yet?
No, not yet, Zelda cried. Damn it! Give me something! Link, you did this to me! Damn it! Get this thing out of me! No!
I cried as the pain got worse. I started to curse as the pain became more intense.
Damn you, Link!
I screamed as I looked up at him. But afterwards I told him I was sorry. You must calm down. Take deep breaths. That's it. Princess, anything yet?
No, mistress, something is wrong,
Zelda cried as she looked up. What? The healer yelled as a look of pure shock crossed her face.
The baby's head is not facing down,
Zelda cried out again. My face went white as a sheet, and so did Link's. At that moment, I thought our baby was going to die. I started to cry as the thought of losing our baby looked evident. We must act quickly! We have to get the baby's head turned, the healer yelled as she prepared to go in and turn the baby's head. How? Well, as Zelda and the healer worked quickly together, they managed to get the baby's head in the right direction. We got the baby's head facing down now. Push! The healer cried again. I screamed as I pushed with every ounce of strength I had. Mistress, I see the head! Now hands! Feet! Then the next thing that I heard was music to my ears. A baby crying.
Oh, goddesses! Congratulations, it's a boy! Zelda cried.
Tears of happiness ran down my cheeks as I squeezed Link's hand. Then Zelda took and wrapped the tiny baby in a blanket and gave him to me. I cried even more as I held the tiny miracle in my arms. "He looks just like you, my love," I said softly as I looked at Link. "We made this tiny miracle together." I laid my head against Link's chest as I looked at the baby's little face. "What shall we call him? Since he is a boy, and it was a son you wanted, you pick the name, my love," I said as I looked into Link's eyes. "Link the Second he shall be called," Link said with pride. "After his own father, named after a legend. Link Jr., I said softly. "Welcome into the world, little Link." I laid there and held my little Link in my arms. I now felt complete. I had Link. Now I had a son with him. This was the most beautiful gift Link gave me. He gave me a miracle.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Well, what do you know? Look at that. That chapter was kind of short. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more. Chapter 11, The Blessing. A few days later, word had spread through Hyrule that Link and I just had a baby. When the king heard that Link had a son, he was just delighted. He was going to have a blessing ceremony for the baby when I was well enough to get out of bed. Link spent the time I was in bed caring for me and our son. For the first few days, we were keeping little Link in the room with us. It was safer and easier when he needed to be fed. Since I was breastfeeding him, it was not much for me to get up and get him out of his cradle. There was the chair in the corner for me to use during feeding time. I was surprised that for the most part Link Jr. slept through the nights, but there were a few times when he cried in the middle of the night to be changed or fed. But I was glad to have this little miracle. He was my pride and joy. I had a family to call my own. When I was well enough to leave the bed, we sent word to the royal family that I was ready. 2 days later, we had the blessing ceremony. The king had everyone in Hyrule attend. He wanted everyone to meet the hero of time's firstborn son. Also, his name was to be announced to everyone after he was blessed. The sun was bright as I walked out of the Lost Woods and onto Hyrule Field. I was carrying Link Jr. in my arms. Link walked at my side as we went. I watched as little Link giggled when he saw the sun. "This is the outside world, my son. Look," I said as I held him so he was facing Hyrule Field. He giggled and his little blue eyes lit up as he saw the new outside world. I smiled at Link as he giggled. "He is so beautiful, my love. He is the best gift you ever gave me," I said as I looked into his blue eyes. Link leaned over and kissed me, smiled, then put his arm around me. When we reached the castle gates, Princess Zelda, Impa, and the king were there to greet us. We were taken to the castle courtyard where everyone was waiting to meet the son of the hero of time. There was a lot of bustle as people waited to see the son of Link and Jenna. I looked from behind the archway and saw that the sages had attended, and to my surprise, even Princess Ruto was there. Even the Zora and Gorgon races attended to see this blessed event. I cuddled our son as I waited for the king to announce us. Link smiled when our little son looked at him, smiled big and giggled. I saw Link's face just light up when I handed our son to him. I nearly cried as I watched Link cuddle our little miracle. Little Link meant as much to me as his father. My whole world revolved around them. They were my life. I listened as the king made his speech. Then we were announced. I looked into my love's eyes and told him that it was time to bless our son. Link handed Link Jr. to me, and we went to show all of Hyrule the son of a legend. I held the tiny baby gently in my arms as we walked out to greet all of Hyrule. Then, as we walked out, a loud cheer rose from the awaiting crowd. Zelda played her lullaby as I prepared our little son to be held high. When she finished, the king spoke once more.
"My people, this is a time of blessing. A new life has entered our world, a life born by Hyrule's legend. Once a boy of destiny, left the forest and became a man. He entered the Temple of Time and pulled the Master Sword from its resting place. Thus he became the hero of time. His destiny became Hyrule's salvation. His bravery saved us from a life of darkness. Then, with his duties completed, he found and took a wife. Now that hero and his wife have been blessed with a new baby boy. I now present the hero of time, Link, his wife Jenna, and their new son."
Then the king smiled at us and gave us way. I handed our son to Link, and we walked forward to where all of Hyrule could see our new son. I stood by Link's side as he looked down over all of Hyrule.
I, Link, the hero of time, present our son, Link the Second, he yelled as he held our son up high for all of Hyrule to see. A loud cheering rose from the people of Hyrule as Link held our son up high. I smiled as everyone cheered. I felt happy. This was truly a special time in our little son's life. After our son was presented, it was time for our son to be blessed. Rauru, the light sage, was awaiting with the other sages to bless our son first. He walked up to little Link and put his hands on his head. Link the Second, son of the hero of time, was born under a legend and will grow up in his father's image. To help guide thee and protect him in his journey through life, we 6 sages each bestow a gift upon thy little one. I, Ranru the light sage, bestow the gift of courage upon thee. Ranru's hands began to glow as he gave the little gift of courage to our son. Completed, Saria the forest sage was next to bestow her gift. I, Saria the forest sage, bestow the gift of friendship upon thee. Saria placed her hands on Link Jr.'s tiny head and bestowed her gift. Next was Dorina. I, Dorina, the fire stage, bestow the gift of power upon thy brother. With his big Gorgon hands, he placed them gently on the tiny baby's head and shared his gift with him. Then, reluctantly, Ruto walked over to our son to bestow her gift. I, Ruto, the water sage, bestow the gift of love upon thee. She gently placed her fish-like hands in our son's forehead and gave him her gift. Next was Impa. I, Impa, the shadow sage, bestow the gift of wisdom upon thee. Then the Sheikah gave our son another beautiful gift. At last was Naboro, the Gerudo. She walked over to the cradle where our son was lying. She peered into the cradle and smiled at the little infant. You truly look like your father, she said as she placed her hands on his small head. I, Naboro, the spirit sage, bestow the gift of compassion upon thee. Then the final gift was given. Next, Princess Zelda came to bestow her personal gift. She gently placed her hands on our baby's head and gave him the most special gift. I, Princess Zelda, bestow the most important gift of all, the gift of knowledge. Wait, shouldn't she have been the one to give him wisdom? Why should I even be asking these dumb questions at this point? I watched as her gentle hands begun to glow. Then an aura of white light surrounded the tiny baby as the gift of knowledge was given. Once completed, the white aura faded and Ranru spoke once more. With these gifts, Link the Second shall be guided through the Valley of Life. He is truly one special child, a child of destiny. I held Link tight as I watched our little son get his final blessing. A tear of happiness ran down my cheek as I thought of what beautiful gifts were given to our special son. Our son was truly a descendant of my hero of time. Oh, blow me. After the blessing was complete, our final place for Link Jr. to receive a gift was from the great Deku Tree. After some final words, Link and I took our son and headed for the Kokiri Forest. Saria came with us. Once we arrived at the great Deku Tree, he awoke from his slumber.
Yes?
Ah, Link and Jenna, I have been expecting thee. Come and sit.
As we sat down in the grass, as little Link giggled and reached for a butterfly that flew near his head, despite being only a few days old.
I see thou have had thy firstborn. As promised, I give thee a special gift.
I watched as a small, glowing little light flew over to us. Then I noticed it was a fairy. A fairy for our son. This is truly the best gift of all, I thought to myself. As the small blue fairy flew around our son, he giggled and tried to reach for her. Hello, my name is Aria. Nice to meet you, the fairy said as she fluttered in a little circle around our little son. I smiled as the young fairy played with Link Jr. Then, as I looked into Link's eyes, he saw a tear run down my face as I smiled. Our son is truly very special. He is our little miracle. I lay my head on Link's shoulder as he stroked my right arm. Our son was very special indeed. He was the son of a legend. Here's perhaps the biggest issue I take with these two chapters. It makes it blatantly clear that Jenna cares more about the fact that she's had this oh-so-special child with Link than she has about the actual child himself. I fear for this kid. Or, well, I would if I didn't already know that this kid's basically gonna have no role whatsoever in the story. Oh,
You heard me right. Despite how big of a deal that it is that these two need to fuck as much as possible and have as many kids as they possibly can, the kids themselves are not relevant. Not relevant characters, not relevant plot points, nothing. It is all a goddamn waste of my time. Now, before we close out this video, there is one thing I need to draw your attention to. The fact that Jenna's entire life revolves around Link, by her own admission. That becomes very clear when we meet the closest thing to an antagonist this story has next week.